Some cars promise years of carefree driving, but the ugly truth is, a few models start dying before you even hit 50,000 miles. And what's worse, some of them are sitting on dealership lots right now, looking like a bargain, while secretly hiding repair bills that could drain your bank account. Today, we're exposing 9 cars that just don't last, and why you should avoid them at all costs. Jeep Cherokee, transmission trouble. The Jeep Cherokee should have been a home run. It carried the Jeep badge, had rugged styling, and promised modern technology to back it up. But the fatal flaw came in the form of its ZF 9-speed automatic transmission. On paper, a 9-speed sounds like a technological leap. Smoother acceleration, better fuel economy, more gears for more control. In reality, it turned the Cherokee into one of the most complained about SUVs in recent history. Owners described the gearbox as jerky, unpredictable, and prone to sudden power loss. Some reported that their brand new Cherokee would slam into gear so hard it felt like being rear-ended, while others said the SUV would hesitate or stall when trying to accelerate. And these weren't isolated cases. Reports of complete transmission failure started coming in as early as 20,000 to 30,000 miles, with many Cherokees becoming undrivable long before hitting 50,000. Jeep tried to patch things up with recalls and software updates, but the fundamental design never improved. Lawsuits followed, frustrated owners ditched their vehicles early, and yet Jeep continued selling the Cherokee with the same flawed setup for years. The real kicker? Buyers who thought they were getting that legendary Jeep durability ended up with repair bills in the thousands, all before the SUV was even halfway through a normal car loan. Ford EcoSport, small SUV, big problems. At first glance, the Ford EcoSport seemed like the perfect solution for city drivers. Compact size, good fuel economy, and an affordable price tag. But dig a little deeper and you'll find why the EcoSport earned a reputation as one of Ford's most regrettable experiments. The main culprit? Its dual-clutch transmission. This wasn't Ford's first attempt with dual-clutch gearboxes. The brand had already been burned by the disastrous power shift transmission in the Fiesta and Focus. And unfortunately, the EcoSport carried the same curse. Owners reported constant jerking between gears, random slipping, and in some cases, outright transmission failure before hitting 40,000 miles. For a small crossover marketed as reliable and economical, having to replace or rebuild the transmission that early was nothing short of a disaster. And it didn't stop there. Complaints also poured in about underpowered engines, electrical gremlins, and poor overall build quality. In fact, some drivers said that EcoSport spent more time at the dealership than on the road. The backlash was so overwhelming that Ford eventually pulled the plug on the EcoSport in North America, quietly walking away from a vehicle that was supposed to attract budget-conscious buyers. Nissan Altima, the CVT gamble, gone wrong. The Nissan Altima has been a bestseller for years, but under the surface lies one of the most notorious problems in modern car history, the CVT transmission. Instead of traditional gears, Nissan's continuously variable transmission was supposed to deliver seamless acceleration and better fuel economy. Instead, it turned driving into a nightmare for thousands of owners. Common issues included shuddering, overheating, and sudden loss of power, sometimes as early as 30,000 miles. In many cases, the CVT simply gave up completely before 50,000. Leaving drivers stranded and staring down multi-thousand-dollar repair bills. Some owners even reported their Altima would jerk so violently at highway speeds that they thought they'd been hit from behind. Nissan was flooded with complaints and quietly extended warranties on certain years, but the root problem never went away. The Altima became known as a transmission lottery. Some cars held out a little longer, others didn't even make it past their first few years. And while CVTs aren't unique to Nissan, no other brand racked up the same level of early failures and customer frustration. Chevrolet Equinox, engine that drinks oil like gas. The Chevrolet Equinox might look like a practical family crossover, but certain models hide a flaw that can quietly destroy the engine long before the odometer reaches 50,000 miles. The issue? Excessive oil consumption. Owners discovered that their Equinox was burning through a quart of oil every 1,000 miles or less, often without any warning lights or obvious leaks. If the driver didn't constantly top off the oil, the engine could seize, sometimes catastrophically, leaving them with a dead SUV and a repair bill stretching into the thousands. And the worst part? Many of these failures happened well within what should have been the safest, most dependable early years of ownership. Chevy faced lawsuits over the design and eventually issued technical service bulletins,
But for years, dealerships brushed off complaints by telling customers to just add oil. In other words, instead of fixing the problem, GM expected owners to live with it. For a family vehicle marketed as dependable, that's a huge betrayal. Hyundai Kona EV. When electric turns, risky electric cars have a reputation for being low maintenance, but the Hyundai Kona EV proved that even futuristic tech can fail early. On paper, it looked like a breakthrough: affordable range, zippy performance, and the backing of Hyundai's long warranty. But owners quickly discovered a serious issue hiding in the battery pack. Reports started surfacing of sudden power loss, charging malfunctions, and in the worst cases, actual battery fires. These problems weren't showing up after a decade of use. Many happened in the first few years, sometimes before the car even hit 50,000 miles. Imagine buying a brand new EV only to find out the very heart of the car, the battery, might not be safe or reliable. The problem grew so widespread that Hyundai launched a massive global recall, replacing entire battery packs at a cost of thousands of dollars each. For some drivers, this meant weeks without a vehicle, endless trips to the dealer, and lingering doubt about whether the replacement would hold up.
Dodge Journey, outdated from day one. The Dodge Journey might be one of the most infamous SUVs of the past 2 decades. Launched in 2008, it limped along largely unchanged for over a decade, and by the end, it was already years behind the competition. But the bigger problem? It simply didn't hold up, with electrical failures, weak transmissions, and cheap components that broke long before 50,000 miles. Drivers often complained that their Journey felt worn out within just a couple of years, power windows failing, air conditioning giving out, dashboards lighting up with warning signals, all common by the 40,000-mile mark. And then there's the transmission, which had a reputation for slipping, shuddering, or failing outright, sometimes before the SUV even hit its first big service interval. Critics hammered the Journey for its outdated design, poor safety ratings, and unreliability. But Dodge kept it on sale for years, marketing it as a budget-friendly family hauler. Families who bought one often found themselves stuck with mounting repair bills and a vehicle that simply couldn't keep up with everyday demands. Volkswagen Jetta, turbo trouble and hidden costs. The Volkswagen Jetta has long been pitched as a sporty, affordable sedan with European flair. But for many owners, the reality was very different. Certain models equipped with the 1.4T and 1.5T turbo engines developed serious problems well before 50,000 miles. Problems that could turn a budget-friendly car into a financial headache. One of the biggest issues? Turbocharger failure. Drivers reported sudden loss of power, strange whining noises, or complete turbo breakdowns, sometimes in cars with fewer than 40,000 miles on the clock. On top of that, the Jetta also suffered from timing chain tensioner failures and carbon buildup in direct injection engines, both expensive repairs that tend to strike early. What made it worse was Volkswagen's handling of the situation. Instead of launching sweeping recalls, VW often offered goodwill packages or extended warranties in certain regions, leaving many unlucky owners to foot the bill themselves. Some lawsuits even accused the brand of downplaying how widespread the problems really were. BMW X5, luxury that doesn't last. At the other end of the spectrum sits the BMW X5, a luxury SUV with a reputation for performance and prestige. But beneath the leather seats and high-tech gadgets lies a sobering truth. Many X5s start falling apart before the warranty even runs out, and some don't even make it past 50,000 miles without expensive repairs. One of the most notorious issues involves the cooling system. Leaks from water pumps, radiators, and hoses can cause overheating that destroys the engine, sometimes within the first 40,000 miles. Add in electrical glitches that knock out everything from the infotainment system to critical safety features, and you've got a vehicle that feels less like a luxury SUV and more like a ticking time bomb. Owners often report that their X5 spends more time in the shop than in their driveway. And here's the kicker. Once the warranty is up, even relatively minor repairs can cost thousands. A simple electronic module replacement, $1,200. Cooling system overhaul, $3,000 or more. The math adds up quickly, and many owners realize too late that their dream SUV is bleeding them dry. Fiat 500L, the definition of unreliable. If there's one car that practically became a punchline in the US market, it's the Fiat 500L. When it launched, Fiat promised European charm in a quirky, practical package. What buyers actually got was a vehicle so plagued with problems that many owners swore it was the worst car they had ever purchased. And often, the breakdown started frighteningly early, well before 50,000 miles. One of the biggest culprits was its automatic transmission, which seemed to give up on life almost immediately. Drivers complained about slipping, grinding, and sudden failure, sometimes within the first couple of years. Add in a weak turbocharged engine, constant check engine lights, and electrical components that refused to cooperate, and the 500L became a mechanic's dream and an owner's nightmare. Even the interior electronics couldn't be trusted. From malfunctioning touchscreens to power windows that quit without warning, it seemed like no system in the 500L was safe. Reliability surveys consistently ranked it near the very bottom of the industry, and resale values collapsed as word spread about its constant issues.